What is happening, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Ty from Ty Drives, and this in front of me is the 2023 Audi S5 Sportback. This one happens to be in the Premium Plus trim level and with quite a few of pretty neat optional extras. We'll get into those plentiful optional extras when we get over to the window sticker. But throughout this video, we're going to be taking a look at all of the features this car has to offer, starting out on the exterior. We'll then pop the hood and see what powers the S5 for 2023. We'll then also pop the rear hatch so we could see how much cargo space we're working with, which it is a pretty good alternative to the S4 if you're looking for a little bit more cargo space. We'll then move forward to the rear seats and finally the front seats and kind of just detail all of the equipment and buttons, switches, everything in between. But you're going to want to make sure to stay tuned to the end of the video. So I'm going to strap this GoPro to my head. We're going to see what it's like to drive the S5. First things first, let's take a look at the details on the exterior, starting out with the headlamps. Full LED units for both your high and low beams, as well as daytime running lights and some nice sequential LED turn signals as well. Taking a look down below, we of course have the black Optic package on this car, which means blacked out elements found throughout the vehicle. Down here where your parking sensors and adaptive cruise control housing is, and also around your whole main grille. So the whole entire main grille is blacked out, even the rings and the S5 emblem. Now, this being the Premium Plus, we also do have a 360 view camera system, one of those cameras right below the rings, and again parking sensors found throughout, and some more black gloss elements down below. Nice long sloping hood and a very beautiful Chronos gray paint color, new for 2023 on the S5. It's almost like the grays that they used to have, just with a little bit of a brown to it. It's a very neat color. Definitely check it out in person. 20-inch wheels come with the black Optic package. Very nice machine face of the wheel and painted black pockets. You can see our tires measure 265/30 up front, and very large brakes too for the S5. Some more blacked out elements on the fender, continuing into the door with the rest of that element there, as well as your mirror caps and window surrounds. So all gloss black, part of the black Optic package. Have an oversized sunroof up top and the shark fin antenna. We also get all four door handles have the smart key entry. You see the little lock pad right there, and to unlock, put your hand behind the handle. The exterior mirrors have LED turn signal indicators and blind spot warning on them as well. And again, as I said earlier, all four door handles have that smart key entry, which is pretty awesome. If we take a look back here, we could definitely see the Sportback appearance. You can see how it comes down in a nice dip, and we have a full hatchback. So from here to here is the opening for the trunk. We have a nice lip spoiler on the trunk lid, and just like out up front, we have full LED turn signals back here with the sequential turn signals, brake lights, and tail lights, all LED powered. We also have our parking sensors that span the rear of the bumper, just like the front, and some nice blacked out quad exhaust tips with some more blacked out elements down here too. Audi rings and the S5 badge, again, all blacked out. So lots of elements in the S5 with the black Optic package that do come blacked out, so even more than previous years. We also do have the reversing camera and trunk release right up here under the trunk lip. So I think it's a rather stylish and sporty looking S5 here. What do you guys think about the styling on the S5? Let me know in the comments section. Alright, so once the hood is popped, we can see the 3-liter turbocharged V6, good for 349 horsepower, 369 pound-feet of torque. Underneath all that plastic, promise me there is a nice healthy V6 under that engine cover. Very nicely done under here. All the hoses and everything are tucked up nicely. You can see the brace for the structural rigidity under here bolted to the strut towers. And it's just a pretty tidy engine bay. Now, very recently we did a video on an A5 Sportback, which had the 45 TFSI motor, which is a turbocharged 4-cylinder. So if you check my channel and see what that car looked like too under the hood and see how it drove. But of course, quattro all-wheel drive is standard on the S5, and so is an 8-speed torque converter automatic. Power liftgate does come standard on the A5, S5, and RS5s, which is a very nice feature. Once you take a look in there, you can see we definitely have a lot more room than its A4, S4 brothers. So just a little bit more lengthwise and just a little bit more height-wise as well too. So we have these two cargo shades, one that bolts on down below and one up top. We also have some cargo extensions to either side with these nets and 12-volt power outlet on this side and a little net to that side. You also have cargo tie downs. This particular car has the all-weather mats, which are installed back here for the trunk. And then if you lift up the cargo floor, you'll have a spare tire back here too. You can see we have some grocery bag hangers back here and some lighting too. And the seats do fold down where you see the red, so a 40-20-40 split. And you see you have some illumination up here, as well as a close the trunk and lock the vehicle, or just close the trunk. Just before we hop into the rear seats to check out what that is like, I'd like to show you the window sticker. So a couple of notable features on this S5. We first have the S Sport package, of course the black Optic package, which I mentioned earlier. Navigation is a little bit of an optional extra, but this also has a couple of pretty rare options. First of all, this has the dynamic steering, which quickens up the steering ratio. We'll get a look at that on the test drive, as well as it having the Sport exhaust resonator. So kind of gives it a little bit more of a deep sound to the exhaust, and that is a little bit of an optional extra as well. Fine Napa leather seats, as you'll see in just a minute too. So just a couple things I wanted to point out before we get any farther into the review. But rear seats, as in traditional S5 characteristic, we have frameless windows. Very nice look. And the S5 also has some nice Alcantara inserts over here. Stitched leather, contrast stitching with the red. We also have carbon fiber accents and nice metallic work too with the door handles. 19 speaker Bang & Olufsen sound system and a little bit of storage down here. Now take a look at these seats. We have the red Napa leather seats with this particular car. Some of the most smooth leather that I have ever felt. So definitely worth a little bit of extra money there. And a nice pattern with the diamond stitch. You could fold those seats down with a little button right next to the headrest to fold down flat like so. A couple other things that fold down are the center pass-through. You have a button on the top right up near the center headrest, which will fold down flat like so. One more thing is the armrest will fold down. You have a little storage console in there and two cup holders, and also latches in place. So upon entry, I'll let you guys know that I am 5'10", and I adjusted the front seat to a normal driving position for myself. And take a look at that. I have a couple inches of legroom, and it's really not too bad back here if you were to have two passengers. Now, 3 passengers back here with one in the center is going to be a little bit difficult, but it is definitely doable. We have a individual temperature control back here for the rear seat, and 2 USB chargers and a 12-volt power outlet back here too. We have grab handles, as you can see, and some LED illumination up top. Very flashy looking interior. Definitely livens it up quite a bit with these bright red seats. And even though these are frameless glass doors, you still get that typical German Audi solid sound. Alright, so take a look at the driver's door. We again have the frameless glass, which is very nice. Again, more of that Alcantara, nice leather, contrast stitching, carbon fiber, just very nice materials on the S5 for the interior. You can see we also have two-person memory for the driver's seat, power folding and heated mirrors. Also powered child locks for the rear as well. You have a trunk release and another speaker on the front door, and some storage in there down below as well. Taking a look at the left of the dash, we have all of our lighting controls, so our fog lights, regular automatic lights, and our gauge dimmer. Taking a look at the steering column, we have the release here for the tilt and telescoping. We also have this pretty big storage console. So I actually stuck the owner's manual in there so that you could see how big that is. Slides right in, no problem. It's all felt lined, so pretty large storage console there to the left of the dash. Hood release and pedals are down there too. Nice stainless steel work on the pedals, and then we also have a pretty nice tread plate too, also in stainless steel. And take a look at the front seats. Very nicely done in that red leather. The S badging printed in the seat, and we also have some pretty cool gray stitching. Now, lots of powered options going on here with the seats. So we have this little up and down to tighten or loosen the side bolsters. We also have this button here to configure our massage settings, which is pretty cool. I think it gives you like 3 to 5 different settings and 3 different intensities for each massage setting. And we have our rest of the power seat controls, as well as an adjustment for the thigh extension. Alright, here's the key fob for the car. We have lock, unlock, trunk release, panic alarm, and then these two little buttons here that you kind of simultaneously press. And the physical key will come out of the bottom in case you need to use that. You also have the cool little S badge on the back of the key. But push button start is right down here. And you can hear the V6 roar to life. Very nice leather wrapped steering wheel for the S5. We have the nice dimpled leather towards the two sides and contrast stitching. And then we have all the buttons. So these are all for our virtual cockpit, and these are sort of all of our media controls and then our heated steering wheel. So we have the voice commands and Bluetooth telephone and skip between tracks for your radio or different songs, and then up and down for the radio volume. We also have paddle shifters to the back of the steering wheel that move with the steering wheel, and a couple of stalks coming off the steering column. This one for the turn signals, automatic high beams, and also to shut off your lane keep assist quickly. And this bottom one for your adaptive cruise control. And this other one is for your wipers. Alright, so let's take a quick look at the virtual cockpit. So you're going to want to pay attention to what buttons I'm pressing to configure the screen. So at any time during configuration of the screen, you can just press the view button, and what you see in the center will get a little bit larger, and your RPM gauge and the speedometer will get just a little bit smaller. So we do have kind of like a vehicle information screen, which you can scroll down. You can see you have trip settings and energy consumption screens, driver's assistance, traffic signs, and real-time and average consumption. You can scroll over to see your radio, as well as your phone screen, and also the famed navigation screen. So you kind of have a full screen right in front of you of the navigation map. You can also put in destinations from this digital cockpit, and you can also go through your lap times and lap statistics through this screen as well. And again, at any time, you just simply press the view button, and your information will get a little bit smaller towards the side, and your speedometer and RPM gauge will get quite a bit larger. Taking a look up at the left, the top of the dash, it's very nice, soft to the touch material. And that brings us down to the Mmi screen. So we'll just kind of go through a few different screens here. You can see this is kind of like your home screen. We have a combination of what the radio, the telephone, and your navigation is doing. And of course, that's all configurable. You have shortcuts over here and a pull down for your garage door openers and sound settings, things like that. For the radio, as you can see, very customizable radio, surround sound, 3D effects, subwoofer, all that good stuff. Swiping over, you could see the radio screen, and you go into your different sources over here. We have our media, phone, and navigation. Once you press navigation, a map will come up, and if you press this button right here, that is where you'll enter. You can either type it in or use the voice commands to put it in. We have phone apps, so that's through the Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, as well as the vehicle screen. So we have all of our driving modes over here. You can select comfort, auto, dynamic, or individual, and you can also customize the individual with a couple of different things. We also have favorites and settings going along with the vehicle information screen. We have a couple of other things you can configure with the lighting and driver's assistance and all that good stuff too. Service and settings and all of that good stuff. We also have the system settings, which you can go into. And we have another selection for the sound settings and the display brightness, things like that in the general settings. If you scroll over, you have a couple of more apps, such as the weather, news, things like that, and you can also set up different users if you have a couple of people driving this car. It's a pretty easy touchscreen to get used to up there with the shortcuts and everything. It's just pretty easy screen up there. A couple of air vents, and that design kind of continues down towards the passenger way. In the center, you have some hazard lights. We also have our heated seats down here. Very simple 3-zone climate control. So you saw the 3rd zone in the rear, and the 2 other temperature zones are up front. You can adjust the temperatures right here, where you want the air to blow on either side, the AC settings, fan speed, and all of our sync and things like that. You can also adjust the rear climate from up front. Taking a look down here, we have our drive mode select, quick button for that. You can also turn on and off your auto start stop, your traction control, and your parking sensors and parking camera. So quickly pull those up, since it's a pretty advanced parking system. So a couple of different views, 4 cameras all the way around the vehicle. We have a wide angle front view, a regular front, a top down, which we'll place over here with the parking sensors visual, a rear view, wide angle rear view, and then the front and rear wheels. And kind of always you'll have the 360 view right there. We have the engine start stop, a USB inlet, and another 12-volt power outlet. Good space over here to put like pencils and pens or something like that in front of the cup holders. We also have some more storage right in front of the shifter. Again, 8-speed torque converter transmission is the only option available for the S5. You can bring it straight down into drive, and once you have it into drive, you have a couple of different selections from there. I should say a couple of other sporty selections from there. You can put it down, bump it down like so, which is still in automatic mode, but it's in a sort of sporty transmission mode, so it'll kind of hold the gears a little bit longer for you. Then you can also put it over just into a manual mode. You can shift down here or on the paddle shifters on the steering wheel. And then straight up goes into reverse, and it'll automatically bring up your backup camera and 360 view. And you do have the little P right here for park. We also have the electronic parking brake down here, and a volume knob, and also to change different songs too down here as well. Nice little pouch to put your key. Then an adjustable armrest, so as you can see, it'll adjust to the correct height. Again, very soft leather with contrast stitching. You open that up, you see we have wireless charging, USB Type-C charger, and a little skinny storage there too. So you have some nice carbon fiber on the passenger area. And if you open the glove box, you can see there's a pretty good amount of space. It's all felt lined. You have coin holders, pen holders, all kinds of good stuff in there. Auto dimming rear view mirror with a compass. You also have the LED tap lights. One control for the sunshade and sunroof. As you can see, the sunshade is even powered in this car. And then once that is fully back, you can use that same switch to either tilt or slide the glass portion of the roof. We also have various other lighting controls and SOS buttons up here too. And one more thing, the visors, can't forget those, with a mirror and light. So that pretty much does it for all of the features on the 2023 Audi S5. Now here's for the exciting part. Let's get it on the road and see how it drives. All right, let's get this 2023 Audi S5 out on the road. Now, we're gonna start out the drive in comfort. We're gonna then switch to dynamic, where we're gonna get an acceleration clip and get it through some back roads, and then we're gonna switch back to comfort to kind of test out the comfort of the suspension, see how, you know, daily drivable it actually is, which I can tell you is very daily drivable. I've driven a few of these S5s before. It's just a very comfortable car for the week commutes, and a pretty fun car on the back roads for the weekends. So first of all, we're going to take it down and get a turning circle test. For those of you who live in the city or close by the city, or in, you know, in and out of the urban environments often, you know, turning circle is probably pretty important to you, you know, getting in and out of parking spaces and things like that. So let's see how it does here. After the turning circle test, we'll kind of get it out onto more of a main road, hopefully 45, 50 miles an hour, something like that. And we'll see what the noise levels and things like comfort levels and things like that are at those speeds. So yeah, pretty good turning radius too. So pretty usable in the city for parking and things like that. Now, even though it's in comfort mode, the exhaust gives out a pretty nice sound. I have to say, it's a little bit of a deeper sound with this particular car, with the Sport Resonator, than some of the other cars with just the normal Sport exhaust. It's got a nice low grumbly noise to it. And that's with the exhaust valves closed. So turn the lane keep assist on. Let's see what we can do here with the lanes. Now active, it's green, and as you can see, the car will just sort of gently steer you back into your lane, and you'll be safe and sound because you're not crossing over lanes or anything like that. It's also a pretty gentle system. It doesn't really jerk you around or anything like that. You know, just kind of gently says, hey, you're outside your lane, let me help you with that. I'll steer you back in. It's kind of a good way to put it there. But now that we're up at, you know, 45 to 50 miles an hour, it's very quiet in here. We do have some pretty big wheels, small sidewalls, so there is a little bit of road noise, and a little bit of noise from the cars coming opposition to me because of the frameless glass, but that's to be expected. But it is definitely a bit quieter in here than I expected it to be. So that is good. Alright, at this point, we're gonna drop it down into dynamic. And you can hear it already. You know, the revs at idle go up just a tad to get you ready for launch, and it's just ready to go. And as soon as this Jeep gets out of our way, we can do our little acceleration test. So I'm gonna get the car up to 25 miles an hour and then just kind of punch it and see how fast the transmission reacts, and also how fast we can get it up to 60. So that's a pretty fast sprint to 60 for the S5, you know, 349 horsepower, 369 pound-feet of torque, excuse me. So yeah, pretty quick sprint to 60. You know, the transmission does a pretty good job of switching up pretty fast, and the engine, you know, just takes right over. The turbocharger spools up very quickly, and we're out of here. You can see once it switched, I believe, from second into third, you know, the third gear is really where it kind of takes over, and these cars just really eat up the highway. Super good on the highway with acceleration, pickup times, and all that good stuff. But now that we have it around some turns and corners, really good steering with that dynamic steering. I really adore that. That is one option box that I would need to tick if I were to buy an S5. You know, just take a look at how effortlessly you have to turn the wheel to get the car to go in such far direction in either way. We also, the S Sport package also adds the Sport rear differential, which is very nice, as well as the adaptive dampening. So you can actually feel the suspension stiffen up when you put it in a dynamic mode, which is pretty neat. And of course it calms down a bit once you put it back into comfort or automatic mode. Also, the steering firms up quite a bit too. Now we have a little bit of a corner going up on here. The tires aren't very warm, so we're not gonna go crazier on the corner, but we'll at least get a good idea of what it feels like in the corners. Yeah, it just effortlessly takes the corners. Virtually, you know, not a whole lot of body roll at all. You know, no push from the front end. Just a really nice handling car. Lots of fun to come out of the corners with. But when our fun is over, we'll switch back to comfort mode, where we have a pretty ugly stretch of road here. As you can see, it's all patchwork and things like that, which makes it a pretty uneven road. Definitely needs some care, but that's good for us because here we are testing out the suspension, and it is pretty comfortable. You know, again, as I said before, pretty large wheels and pretty small sidewalls on the tire, which usually makes up for a pretty uncomfortable ride. But I could definitely say there's a huge difference in ride between dynamic and comfort modes. You know, this is kind of taking the bumps by like a champ right now, whereas before, you know, it was pretty stiff. A pretty big difference in the weight of the steering too. It's a lot lighter steering right now than it was before in dynamic mode. So yeah, pretty noticeable differences between the driving modes here. One more thing I'd like to mention is the seats. So again, massage on the S5 is standard, even if you get the base trim. It's just standard equipment on this car, which is very nice to see. You can also get cooled seats too as part of the warm weather package, but this has the nice nap leather seats. Plenty of range of adjustability on this car too. So we have the lumbar support, which is 4-way, the side support, which is in and out, and also the thigh extenders was in and out, which is a pretty good thing for me, at least, because I know if I go on a long trip, my legs start to get tired with a seat that doesn't have the thigh extensions. I don't know if I'm just used to it, or I don't know, but that at least is a really awesome feature on a seat for me. last turn coming up here, we're just kind of leaving in comfort mode. We'll give it a little bit of beans coming up the hill here. So yeah, just kind of rolling back into our little filming studio here. Wrap up thoughts on the S5. What a great car for both daily driving and a lot of fun on the weekends. You know, this particular car has lots of comfort options, you know, all the range of adjustability with the seats and the comfort versus dynamic suspension. And it also has lots of sporty options too, such as the sports rear differential and the kind of dynamic ride with the comfort and dynamic settings, like I just said. But yeah, really nice car. This car stickers for just about $70,000 as equipped, and for that price you do get a fair amount of car. You know, it's not the craziest deal in the world, but you know, it's a pretty decent car for the money. And with that being said, I hope you have enjoyed the S5 just as much as I have, and I also hope you stay with us here at Ty Drives for more videos just like this one.